I hope you're having an amazing day. My name is Colin, and in this video I will show you my top 3 gaming coins holding for the long term. I have a $10,000 position in each of these coins, so let's have a look which ones they are. Nothing in this video is financial advice, it is for entertainment purposes only. The first one would be Chumbi Valley. I've covered this project before on my channel. It's a Pokemon style game. If you would like to know the entire white paper, the research report, I will leave a link for you in the description down below. I covered the entire white paper. So it's basically a Pokemon Zelda style game where you basically explore the world with your little Chumbi creature and they can evolve. There's different rarities. Farming, exploration, crafting. It's a game made for mass adoption. It is very thorough. There's a very big team, very professional, which so far I have had a great experience asking them questions and having a good overview of the actual project. The roadmap is a little bit longer, and therefore I took this into my long-term portfolio. They did a launch, a IEO on KuCoin, which I did not participate in. It did do extremely well. So if we look up the Chumbi Valley token on CryptoRank, what you'll see is that on the IEO, it's currently at a 91x return, so it did absolutely amazing. There's a 5% unlock on TGE, and then 94.9% will be on a monthly linear investing for 9 months, meaning 10% per month, but they only raised $300,000. So the tokens in circulation that will be added relative to the gain is quite significant, right? So do keep the vesting into consideration. 129x on the all-time high. Relative to what we're working with right now, fully diluted market cap on the current value, $2.7 billion. 5 million, just under 5 million 24-hour volume, where the volume is split between KuCoin and PancakeSwap currently on the Binance Smart Chain. So obviously the price was quite stable as of this year. When we look at the all-time chart, this is basically when, after the idea, when the tokens got unlocked from KuCoin, the price dropped because of the fusion with PancakeSwap, basically. So this is like a normal pattern we often see. There was a little bit of a buying the dip action going on right here, and then it kept quite stable for the first, let's say, week, 2 weeks of January. Now we are in this period where they announced single-sided staking. And the single-sided staking is basically the reason why I jumped on Chumbi Valley. I have my tokens staked for a longer period of time because the rewards are actually magnificent right now. There is also guaranteed APR. So if we go to staking.chumbivalley.com, I connect my wallet. They have 3 different options. I'm staked in the 90-day pool, of which there's currently 88 days left. I staked my tokens about 20 hours ago. I staked almost 100,000 tokens, which is, at that time, it was about just under $10,000. And I've gained so far 16,000 tokens, which is about $1,600 at the current price. In 1 day, less than 1 day, right? APR sitting at 5,000% right now. When it started, it was at 7,000. It is declining the more people are adding tokens. So the total value staked is about 72 million Chumbi. The staking cap is 2.4 billion on this pool. The staking period is 90 days, but it's counting down, so the pool will be depleted in 88 days. The reward date will be April 14th. You cannot withdraw your tokens nor the gain tokens until that date. So what we'll see on April 14th is a first come, first serve massive dump from the people selling off the token, which makes sense, right? So definitely I will be on top of it to get as much potential return, or at least my initial what I can. You can also stake for 180 days. The APR is still quite high. Obviously, I have nothing staked, but also, like on the 90-day pool, the more assets that are staked, and the cap here is 811 million, the APR will go down. 365 days, basically the same thing. The reward date here, January 14th, 2023, July 13th, 2022. What you need to keep in mind is that they have a guaranteed minimum staking APR, which is basically the reason that I chose it. APR will be reduced. Our target minimums of 100%, 150%, and 200%. So 100%, 150%, 200% are the target minimums, which basically means that they have a cap. So at around the cap, it would be around 100 on this one, 150 APR on this one, and 200 on this one, which is APR, not APY. So the APY is the compounded version, which means that the APR is extremely high. Sitting currently at 5,000, if you would lock it in early, as I did, there would be significant gains, which for me is already a 16% return on my investment. Even though the token has gone down quite a bit, right? So I bought in, I think somewhere here, I'm not too sure. It went up and then it went down again. But obviously, even if you would have bought on 13 cents, it doesn't matter. With this type of APR, you would have already gotten that loss back. Now, the question is obviously, what is this coin going to do over the long term? Because this is not a short-term flip. We need to hold for at least 90 days. And I think I'm going to hold a little bit longer than that, because what I've been exploring as well. So I do like the concept of this game. This was one of the first games I ever reviewed on this channel. I know it's only been like 2 months since I started this channel, but we've come a long way ever since in terms of my personal knowledge, in terms of all the reviews we've done and the hours we have spent recording videos. This project shows a lot of potential. The NFTs pots sale that they did, I did not participate in, but I have been following it, checking it out once every week. These are going to hatch next week, and the first Chumbi will be revealed, where the price has significantly dropped. So this might be an interesting opportunity for myself to pick up some legendary seed pots. And when I say some, I mean 2 to 3. I would probably spend 5 Ethereum. So maybe I do 1 mythic, 1 legendary, or 3 legendaries, or 4 legendaries. I would have to see. I did make a price prediction before on Chumbi Valley, including the NFTs, and that one actually turned out to be quite okay, in line where we are today. So the review is coming up next week, as I have good belief in this project, right? Basically because of how the founders have communicated so far, how the team is working on their milestones. There is quite a long roadmap ahead of this game, but everything is adding up so far. Many green flags, which in my opinion shows that this project has tremendous potential. It has done extremely well since the IEO, and I believe that it can do extremely well for the longer period of time as well, relative to what it has already performed so far. So this is basically the first project. I have about $10,000 staked. I have made 1.6K. This will require an update in the near future. I'll probably record an update on this Chumbi Valley staking situation once a month going forward, depending on what the price then is and how much APR return in terms of tokens I have received at that point. In the short term, if I'm going to hop on these NFTs, I will have to do a little bit more research on them, what the current pricing is and what the current expected value is. I would only flip the NFTs. I would not hold them, because I generally don't hold NFTs except for my like Neo Tokyo, that high level style NFT. When we look at the actual Discord updates, it's basically daily, right? So they're posting, basically the 2 co-founders, they post literally updates every day or every other day. Well, I think it's every day or multiple times a day. 13, 13, 13, 12, 12, 11th, right? They're extremely engaged. The community is very much active, which is obviously always a good thing. And when we look at the actual roadmap, it will take some time for the major milestones to be achieved, right? So they have a roadmap here, which they're crossing off, which I really do appreciate because it's quite detailed. So the staking has gone live, the game teaser trailer is coming, but they have the breeding event, which obviously happens once the NFTs have been revealed. Then the land sale, the marketplace, beta access for the early Chumbi NFTs, um, the merge drop, and I think this all looks quite promising. The coming soon is basically dialed in on a monthly basis. So this is all you can expect from January. But I assume that then the breeding would happen and the land sale at the end of February. This is like a big development milestone with their own marketplace. But so far I'm quite bullish on it, obviously. Otherwise I wouldn't lock my tokens for 90 days. I didn't really want to take the risk with 180 days, depending on how the market would move. So if the 90-day pool depletes and everything looks good, I might stake it again for another 90 days. I don't do liquidity pairing. I do single asset staking because it's less risk, specifically for my long-term project. So this game is my number one in my top 3 list of holding for the long term, medium long term, at least 3 months. Chumbi Valley 90-day staking with an option of flipping NFTs in the short medium term, where I would say 1 week to perhaps 3 months, depending on the rarity that I would get. But I'm definitely serious in exploring those NFTs as well. The next one is actually Ertha. So obviously I made the announcement before that I'm holding $10,000 worth of Ertha. So my top 2 coin is Ertha, which I bought in about $10,000 worth here. So that was the 6th of January. I did sell because I needed some liquidity somewhere here on 22 cents. So I took a small loss. I sold off $2,500. So at that point I had $7,500 left in Ertha. I needed liquidity on PancakeSwap really quick for an opportunity for a coin to flip. Had nothing to do with Ertha itself. However, the coin then went up significantly in value here. So I got it on 25. It's now at 35, which means I'm back at 10K again, right? I'm not going to add another 2.5K because right now it's at 10K. That's fine. Basically, my initial is 7.5. And I'm riding it for the long term. The main thing about Ertha for me is not actually the NFTs, right? I mentioned this in my previous video on Ertha, that I am more impressed about the specific team, how long they have worked on this. The game trailer is obviously quite amazing, but it's just a trailer, right? However, I do feel like the concept of this game, the question is, can they pull it off, right? They're looking at the Ertha metaverse, a game on such a big scale. There's 130,000 NFT land tiles. This is a game that has been in development, I think 6 years. The founders have been working on it, so they definitely adapted it to the blockchain, right? Which is completely fine. However, if we look at what they say they can do and they can actually pull it off, yes, that would be tremendous. I think it has tremendous potential. The reason I chose Ertha is because of how the gameplay is explained to the marketing efforts of the team, right? I think the marketing efforts that they've put in so far are extremely significant, right? They have been doing extremely well. They're not over promising things in terms of hype. They're keeping the hype low, and they're coming with major announcements continuously, which shows good potential, in my opinion, for the long-term vision of this project. The main question is, of course, as an investor, can they actually pull off what they think they can pull off? Well, that's the risk you're taking, right? Well, that's the risk I'm taking. However, I do believe that my $10,000 with in Ertha token is a safe bet relative to all the other projects I've reviewed before. I don't think this trailer has the actual internal gameplay, which was actually what I was trying to show you. So they have multiple videos these days, but here's a gameplay trailer. So this is the one with the gameplay, Ertha. Basically, it has the hack styles. You can do war style, but it's on a giant scale, right? It requires energy. So basically, it's real life, adjusted to the metaverse as a game mode, building up industries, battling wars to claim land, all types of interesting mechanics. Not only does it look quite good, I do think the vision of the actual game, in terms of the short-term operational milestones, are quite realistic. It basically all came down to one question for me. When I saw Ertha, I was extremely impressed, right? The reason I'm not buying NFT land is because that's a little bit too long term for me, right? Then I'm looking to flip that. It might take like 1 to 3 years before it would actually generate me a 5-10x return. However, the coin, there's like fast liquidity. If I want to pull the trigger on this project and take my profits, I could do that at any moment, right? However, I don't think I will, but that's just my main reason why I'm not buying NFT land in this game, although I think it could be huge, right? One of the major, well, 1 or 2 components that I've seen, which they did extremely well, is one step is where they basically mentioned you can now buy Ertha land NFTs with the actual token. It just made sense to me. This team is on a advanced, or compared to the average crypto knowledge of gaming guys, the marketing is terrible, right? When I look at something like this, where they utilize their own token to give an additional discount on buying the NFTs, all the entrepreneurs would say that is a smart choice, that makes sense. Any marketing director would say, you guys are smart, you have sold more than 10% of your NFT portfolio already, and there's literally months of sale time to go, right? This is a very, very smart move. Increase demand, maintain supply, price goes up. Investors are happy, you get more hype, you get more eyeballs, everything just adds up. Now, I had one question, right? I had one question for Ertha. Let me see, Ertha is right here. When will be the staking? So I can just find myself. Here we go. That's something else that I was curious about. Is there a single Ertha staking pool apart from Huobi? So basically, this is basically the Huobi pool, which ending on the 18th. We already know that. That's not what I was wondering. And then basically they mentioned that in Q1, there's a single asset staking planned. I don't see, maybe I asked it on Telegram. But that basically gave me some confidence that the single asset staking, I'm not interested in providing liquidity because of the impermanent loss. I'm more interested in doing single asset staking like I'm doing with Chumbi Valley, which they said Q1 2022. So there's still a lot of room, right? It was not an official source that actually confirmed this. It was just somebody in the chat. And I'm basically waiting for that. So basically I'm holding it right now in the hope that I can stake it. There has not been an official announcement. However, with the progress, obviously the coin went up quite a bit. It has gone down a little bit, but that's still looking quite good on a 7-day window. Am I looking at this? If I can stake it for 90 days, I will. If I can stake it for 180 days, I think I even will. Because the roadmap for Ertha is even longer than Chumbi Valley in terms of what they plan to do, right? So when we look at 2022, new in-game content, heavy focus. So this is full start of the marketing happens in May, right? Release Ertha beta with the new Unity engine in March. So there will be quite a run-up of still 2 to 3 months before that actually happens, and May is still 4 to 5 months, right? Where you're really looking at like adoption is, I think, the mobile game version, right? And it says development. It's not even the actual focus there. But last quarters of this year, there should be some traction. But this will obviously be the first major milestone. And the alpha is not even on this year, right? So definitely a more longer term project. If you look at the scope and the research I've done already on this project. So if you're not familiar, I do on my channel have a full white paper review of Ertha, which I will also leave in the description down below. So you can check that one out as well if you want to know more about this project. But again, long term, this would even be 6 to 18 months probably, right? $10,000 committed to this project. Single asset staking, I would be happy to commit to 90, 180 days in order to get some APY on that, right? Let it grow, because otherwise it's just sitting there doing nothing. But Ertha, definitely one of my current favorites for the long term. Definitely not short term for Ertha. Then the third one is one I've discussed many times, but I did pull on the trigger earlier this week, is Cryo War, right? So I bought Cryo War. I said I would buy Cryo War, and I did buy it. Actually, a live video at $1. So it's like a little bit in a loss right now, but the short term doesn't matter, right? So I bought it after this pump. So I bought it at about $1 right here, I believe. And things are looking really good for Cryo War. I mean, the Cryo War gameplay, it just makes sense to me. When I would say something that I'm not going to play, but I fully understand why the hype is there, why everything adds up for this game. Every time I discuss Cryo War, the only thing I really have to say is that it's a mobile arena style game. They don't show off trailers that are highly professional, which is the question with Ertha, right? Can they actually do this? They do show a lot of gameplay as well, so I do have an understanding that's more of a like SimCity style build. But with Cryo War, specifically, the gameplay is simple, the gameplay is enjoyable, it makes sense, and they have some cool artwork, right? So the branding around it is really, really great. The community is great, and for me, I'm investing in this game where usually I say I invest into teams, not into games. But as soon as I first laid my eyes upon Cryo War, I saw this trailer. Back then it was a little bit shorter, but it just looks great, right? It just makes sense. The way how they describe the project, for me, this was like 5 green flags straight in a row. Animoca Brands is there, which is one of the leading investing gaming brands that I follow. And it just all added up for me, right? So if you do not or are not familiar with Cryo War, all you need to do really is check out this website. Just scroll down. Basically, it's like a cut up white paper on what this game is actually about. When we look at the long-term focus, you can see it's quite in a downward trend. Basic reason for this is quite simple. There have been no major milestones achieved. It's already sitting at an 81 million market cap because it did extremely well on the actual IDO, right? So if we go to crypto rank, I know the IDO was on CDeFi, one of the launch pads that was involved. It pulled in on the all-time high on 170x, currently sitting at a 33x. That's like amazing. The 11th is basically the date of the actual vesting release, which basically was right here where it dumped. And then the 11th here, there was not much movement. Let me zoom in on that. Basically on the 11th, there was only a small upward trend, apparently. Small dump, but not significant. And there was like quite the spike here, right? From 95 to 127. I do believe from a point of view that in the short term, the more vesting will be released. And I think any normal investor, in my opinion, would take profit at a 33x, right? There would be no, unless you're really into it in the long term like I am, but I only got into it at $1, not $3, $1, right? So the all-time high on 4.5, as I said and mentioned it before, I'm looking to at least achieve the all-time high again on the next gaming bull run. And I'm patient, right? The reason that I'm patient on Cryo War is specifically the game itself, right? So I'm not too worried about what it will do in the short term because I think this game literally makes sense for mass adoption. And that's something I think we see way too little. I think there's too much hype, there's too much marketing efforts, and the games are quite shitty in the current crypto space. Because there's too many people just in it for the cash grab. I'm not talking about Sidus, not talking about Cryo War, not talking about Star Atlas, the major games, but I am talking about 50% of IDO launches on launch pads at the moment regarding video games, right? Because that's where I focus on. Doesn't matter for investors if they're just looking to flip, like I do a lot, right? I do participate in a lot of projects where I'm like, well, this game, it looks decent. I'm not really too much of a fan of it, but I do think that it can give me some returns because that's what my focus is, right? My focus is not usually 1, 2, 3 years down the line. But with Cryo War, I do see that opportunity. So I did put down 10K, which basically means 10,000 on Chumbi Valley, which is staked. Ertha 10,000, which I hope I can stake. And now I recall that it was actually CryoWar that announced C1 staking, right? So if I search my name here, then it was actually CryoWar here. Is C1 CryoWar staking already available? They say no, we only have liquidity pool. I say, what about single asset staking, not liquidity farming? It's a work in progress. Thank you for your patience. Any rough ETA? Q1 surely. Right, so that basically gave me the choice that I know that single asset staking is coming up, which basically for me means that if I commit now, I had the entry point of $1 before I missed it, and then he said, always my pleasure brings you to, I have no friends. We are your friends here. So that was quite funny. And they were really fast. If you look at the community manager, at least this guy, is very, very engaged, which I think for something post-IDO, we do not see that often. You know, pre-IDO, the marketing teams are ready to engage, but most companies do not engage after the IDO, which is a shame, because I think they should, to maintain a healthy relationship with their investors and their community. So the single asset staking is coming up for CryoWar this quarter. I did want to take an entry into CryoWar before, so when I take this like so, I always said that I would take an entry at $1, right? Then last week, I looked at CryoWar again in one of my videos, and I noticed that it basically had moved down to basically below $1 right here. And I didn't make an entry because that's like emotional decision making. I always follow my own rules. Entry points are entry points, exit points are exit points, no matter what the coin is doing beyond that. You know, we could say would have, could have, should have. If I bought here, then I would have made tremendous returns. If I sold here, if I put in $100,000, but you didn't. And that is the problem. Right, so I didn't want to make this mistake. I didn't want to miss out on CryoWar, so I did get in at $1 here. Now it's a little bit lower. That is okay, because I've already committed myself. I already programmed my brain that I'm in this one for the long term. So when I say long term, 6 months to 36 months, not a problem to hold CryoWar. In my opinion, I think it has tremendous potential, and I'll just keep replaying this video whenever I need confidence on this project, but I don't really think I do. I have so many things going on with my own companies, with my own NFT projects, with my own tracking software for all this stuff, that Chumbi Valley is great. I will have a look once a day. CryoWar is great. I will have a look once a day. Ertha, I'll probably have a look once a day, just skim through the Discord announcements. But other than that, I'll be patient, I'll be waiting, and in the meantime, I will do single asset staking to get some APR going while I hold the tokens. Let me know if you think these 3 are great choices, or perhaps if I should explore some other coins as well, as I do have liquidity and I am looking more into gaming projects for the long term instead of trying to keep flipping. The bigger my portfolio becomes, it's more difficult to keep flipping everything. So I'm looking for some long-term assets, and then I'm playing with some short-term assets as well. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.